Hey everybody, welcome back to Fossil Games and welcome back to Cities Skylines. No, this is not Fossil Felda. As a matter of fact, we got a bit of a special episode coming your way today. I am just really excited about this other city that I'm working on alongside Fossil Felda that I'm building with you guys, and I just sort of wanted to show off what I've got done so far and how it's looking, and I'm just sort of proud of how it's gone so far. So I wanted to share this with you guys and see what you think. Now this is a modded city, right? So it's pretty different from Fossilfelda in that way. And I wouldn't say mods are really my strength. I've played with them a bit before, but this is definitely the furthest and the most that I've sort of gotten accomplished with them. And so, yeah, I kind of wanted to show you guys what I've managed to do with them, and how I think at least I've sort of managed to really give this city a nice, uh, sort of realistic, not just a look, but sort of a realistic vibe to it, a realistic character to it, where it sort of has different sections already, even though it's small, right? This is not a big city, but you do not need to build a metropolis to have sort of different sections of the city that have different feels, that play different roles. And so that's kind of what I wanted to show you guys today. And yeah, so I just sort of paused it here at sunup here so we can sort of see this beautiful view. I am playing on a map that I downloaded off the Steam Workshop. It's completely vanilla map though. I will link it in the description below. I think it's a pretty popular map. Um, but you do not need any special assets to run the map. It's a vanilla map. Um, and yeah, that's all I have to say about the map. So let's start sort of looking at the city, right? And what I've done here with it. Let's sort of run it so we can get into the daytime here. First of all, this is a boreal map, so we do have a bit of the fog and things like that, but honestly, on a pretty day, that's not really an issue, and I think it even almost sort of adds something to the map, right? So this map is based off of sort of the redwood forests of, I guess, the area of California, the west coast of the United States. And so it's got lots and lots and lots of redwoods on it. Here you can see this is all stuff that the map maker himself put into this map. And it really, in a lot of ways, feels like a real redwood forest. And it's kind of cool playing around with having a city right in the middle of these massive redwoods. So this was my starting square here. And so we started off just sort of building our normal natural connections into the city. Decided to put my industrial zone over on the right side to give it easy access, right? The first real neighborhood that I started building was this one, Hawthorne Hills. You can sort of see the borders here of where Hawthorne Hills ends, right? I wanted this to be my main residential neighborhood, and then I wanted to connect that to the industrial zone with this street here that would be sort of the main commercial street to start out with, right? I also kind of like the idea that as you come off the highway, you have the option to go straight into the industrial zone. If you're a truck and you need to go in there, you have the option you have the option to cut off straight into the residential area if you're just going home, right? But you also have the option to just go straight, and that leads you like right into what's essentially more of a downtown area, right? So if you're a visitor and you want to come do some shopping or something of that sort, you could just come right on down to the middle there. So this neighborhood sort of has this unique look. You can see here, you might be asking yourself, what are those buildings doing, right? That's not what a building normally looks like in City Skylines. So I downloaded a really cool set of buildings that I think is also very popular on the Steam Workshop. So if you're a veteran of the game and you use mods, you probably know it. It's called the American Eclectic theme. And it's a whole theme of buildings that was created by a modder. And they're buildings that level up, and the first two levels of buildings they look like construction sites, right? So this is a level 1 building. Just looks like a family has come in there with their little mobile home, if you will, and in the meantime, they're working on building the house, right? Level 2 looks something like this, where they put down the foundations, started building up the walls. You can see that it's in work, it's in progress. And then these finished houses that you see here are level 3. I don't think I've gotten any houses at a higher level than that just yet. But you can see that those are just like really beautiful assets. And once we get a full neighborhood of these coming in, they're going to look really, really great. And I actually, one thing I noticed about this theme that's really cool, if you can see here, not all the zoning squares are filled in, and that's because there aren't sizes. The modder did not create a size uh, for every amount of squares, right? So if you have these 4 squares here like this, there are no buildings that will come in to a zone like that. And I actually think that's kind of cool because then you get this effect where you have this natural space in between buildings, and it's not something that you've done on purpose, that you've engineered. It's something that's there naturally and sort of has more of a natural look to it than I think you would ever get by just zoning the squares yourself. Um, so anyway, I think this is like a real sort of suburban look, right? This is a real sort of maybe upper middle class feel to it. Um, maybe there's some people even renting some rooms or one floor of these houses, right? But it's probably mostly people who own these houses, and not the super rich part of town, but well off, right? So I kind of wanted to make that sort of the biggest sort of sprawling neighborhood of the town. Whoop, got a little bit of garbage trouble here. I'll wait till we're done with this video to deal with all those kinds of things. And yeah, so far I just have a couple of little parks here like this. There's a dog park. Yeah, and then right in the sort of off to the side of this neighborhood, right, we put in our schools. And well, I am playing with natural disasters on, right? So that could actually strike any minute, even in this video, which would really be a disaster. So we have a little emergency shelter here right next to our schools. That's sort of one of the places where most people are congregating right now in this sort of small size town. So we have that here covering this neighborhood to evacuate people if needs be. I downloaded some trees from the workshop as well, just to give a little bit more variety to the redwood feel. So you can see there sort of what that looks like, and I think it's just fantastic. I think it's really cool. Gives a very unique sort of feel to this little town we're in. So as you can see, as we come this way, coming out of this neighborhood, then we come down to this main street here, which is actually also, these streets are also modded. And I was able to put these little parking lots on the side of the street. And actually all the commercial buildings here you're seeing, except for this bookstore. This bookstore is in the vanilla game. All the other ones are modded. All right, and I think they create much more of a realistic sort of American style downtown. Right, I think that's just really, really fantastic. And with the bikers, the people walking, the cars coming through, that feels really, sort of gives it a realistic vibe, right? Now, I didn't want to just have like this long street coming through that was commercial, right? And then I also needed to expand to a bigger commercial zone. And so I went ahead and put in something like what would be essentially a shopping center, right? You can see here I put these 2 signs out in front that would sort of be like, if you're coming from this direction, it's like, welcome into this shopping center, whatever you want to call it. You're going to need to give it a specific name of some kind, right? But you sort of got those signs coming from either direction. And then you come into this parking lot, and this whole area is just surrounded by, again, the same set of low commercial, sort of small town feeling commercial buildings, and a nice little sunken plaza here that I also got off the workshop. Uh-oh, it's like somebody was committing a crime there. We gotta keep the center of our town safe. And just before I started this video, I sort of started to expand on that over here, right? And this is also, so this is more or less going to be the city center as I expand. And I'm going to be expanding over here, I think, with more residential and eventually getting back here as well. But this is sort of going to be the main commercial center, if you will, at the moment. And I I really struggled to decide what to do with this disaster response unit because it's just such a huge building, right? And it felt weird to just stick it off in a random corner of the map. But because I'm playing with the natural disasters on, it's a building you gotta have, right? I wanted to invest in that pretty much right away. And I wanted to put that somewhere. I almost feel like it's our first sort of government building, right? And so it didn't feel right to me to just stick that off in a random corner of the map. I wanted to put that somewhere that was going to be a little bit more prominent. It's also so big that it just feels awkward randomly off on the side of the map somewhere. It still looks a little awkward right now because it's on the side of everything, but I think the idea is that once I can sort of build around it, that this will fit in here a little bit more naturally. Um, and my thought is to actually even turn this area just into a city park. Have that be our first like real proper big park area. You'd have access to it from our biggest residential zone. You'd have access from the main commercial area. I think that would be a pretty cool idea. That would also buffer all the housing from the noise created by this building. Yeah, I think that's not a bad idea. Ooh, I want to get rid of that. That's not the right kind of house that I want to have in this zone. Oh, that's why the zoning is off there. Let me see if I can fix that real quick while we're here. No, 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 no. Stop it. Okay, I'll explain to you what I'm doing. This is, I have I have one zone that is, okay, I think that's coming in as I want it. I have one zone, I have this neighborhood that's set to come in with these style of buildings, and then I have this whole other residential neighborhood now here that's set to come in with all the buildings, all the residential buildings, the low residential buildings from the campus DLC. Right, so these are actually designed to be something like the little houses you'd find on a university campus, right? Maybe there would be, it's student housing basically. Maybe you would have some frats take over some of these houses, that kind of thing, right? And so they kind of have, let me see if I can find a good example. Ugh, gotta fix these two. Okay, well, whatever. Most of the neighborhood looks good. Okay, this is a good example. So we have some of these houses that have like this real sort of grungy look, right? They've got, dirt outside, this broken down car, whatever that is. Um, Let me see if I can, I think I'm gonna pause the game now so we don't lose the daylight. But you can see there's some houses that sort of have um, piles of trash laying around and that kind of thing. There's students who didn't take care of their houses, right? But I think the effect that gives is sort of an area of town that's not quite as well taken care of. It's more of I think it's more of like a downtown low residential area um, where they're sort of packed in a little bit tighter. The housing is a little bit smaller, right? And so I wanted to put this next to where our main commercial district is going to be. And then maybe out here I'll have another district that's a little bit more in this style, right? But this sort of, I think, gives a nice segue into the commercial stuff right here. We got our public library here helping us with education. And also you notice there are just fewer services out here, right? They're not going to be as well serviced as my nice suburb. Just to sort of keep it with that feel, that it's a little bit more rundown in that area. So we have the police station and the fire station actually pretty much right next to it, so that they can get access to pretty much the whole city. But those are the only ones I have in this whole city. And in my taxes, or my budget, sorry, I have the budgets for those set almost all the way down to zero. For fire, definitely. For police, I'm at 80% right now. And that's actually covering my city and giving me everything I need. While we're at it, I think I'm going to up the budget for garbage before I forget, just to make sure we get a couple extra trucks on the road. Keep that taken care of. You may be laughing at me, but I rigorously manage this budget panel here to make sure that I'm not overspending on things. Because I figure if it's a part of the game, it must be supposed to be used, right? And so I wanna use it. I wanna figure out how to utilize it correctly. So then moving on down here, we got an industrial zone. that is almost entirely modded, right? All these little warehouse type buildings, these are all mods. These, of course, are the coal power plants, these three buildings here. And then I've plopped down a couple of vanilla buildings here. But basically, just by using a couple of parking lots and these modded buildings, these modded warehouses, I feel like I've been able to create a much, much, much more realistic look for an industrial zone than what you get in the vanilla game. Because you always get in the vanilla game right away, you get these really tall buildings with these smokestacks and things that all over the place, right? And it just looks the contrast is very stark and it looks a little odd to me. And so I like this that I was able to do this and then sort of transition it into a little bit of commercial and even a few places of residential here, which I realize is dangerous, right? Because of the pollution coming from the industrial zone. But I figure, that's also realistic, right? In towns, you don't have quite that clear-cut separation between this is commercial, this is residential, this is industrial, right? And so I wanted to sort of find some way to create that feeling. Um, and unfortunately, you can't have like commercial and residential in one building, right? So I wanted to have some area here where I was sort of mixing the three together a little bit. So I even have an industrial building all the way up here. Um, but yeah, I think that came out pretty successful there. And so basically just the principle that I stuck to was making sure that all the larger industrial buildings with the smokestacks, the ones that really look like big factories, were off here in one corner. And the idea being that I want this to feel more like a complex that is one or two factories, right? And the related warehouses rather than 400 different businesses. Um, I want this to feel like this town may be built up around the idea that there is an industrial uh, um, an industrial heart here that's providing some service. But because the town's not that big, right? You're not going to have industry that is 400 different jobs or 400 different companies, right? It's a few different companies here all in one sort of large complex. So I think that looks pretty good the way it is. Right now, this is just an extension I built over to fulfill the industrial demand. And I'm going to expand on this over here a little bit as we go. And now this neighborhood that I put over here, I'm still sort of experimenting exactly what I want to do with it and how, especially how I want to extend it up this way. But this is all of our sustainable living building. So this is a residential area. This is what I would consider for the more wealthy residents, right? These are the people who can afford um, nice homes that really stick to good environmental policies, right? So it's still sort of bare bones at the moment. We don't have any parks in here or anything yet to really get the buildings upgraded. Um, but you can see these have like a very modern look, very clean sort of look. And as they upgrade, they'll have plants on the roofs, and yeah, they'll give a real good look that I think makes them look a little bit more fancy, right? And then all of these buildings are also uh, sustainable commercial buildings. Um, and I'm not sure exactly. I didn't get much variety in the buildings here, so I'm not sure exactly what's up with that. I'm going to have to go in to the mod I'm using to set the kind of buildings I want in each district. I'm going to have to go in and look at how I can fix this, because I basically have the same building coming out dozens of times, right? But I think overall you get the essence of what this feels like. And then my idea is to basically come out here with the road and use this whole space here as another of these large kind of districts with this theme to them, with this American Eclectic theme in the housing. And probably once I expand out here, I'm also going to need another main commercial zone, maybe even something I can build right off the freeway. Right, because you get that a lot of times, right? You'd have a shopping center that's like right off the freeway, something like that. So I might try to attempt something like that. But I think those are mostly going to be, what I consider the suburbs, right? So I might even try to keep the housing a little bit more sparse, use a few more dirt roads, that kind of thing, to keep it a little bit more out there. Put down a bunch of trees to make it feel like it's more in the forest, and yeah, make sure that that feels a bit more rural, at least to begin with, as we expand, and make this sort of the focal point, the real center of town, and expand some housing around here, buy the tiles up here. Um, and yeah, and so far this is the only trash that I've had to use is my only landfill. Kept off across the freeway here, so that it's not really bothering anybody. And yeah, and I filled this all in with some nice trees and stuff. Next to the industrial zone, of course, the trees sort of reflect the pollution of the area, right? So they don't look as good. But I actually kind of think that's appropriate. I sort of made the conscious decision to do that and keep those trees there because I feel like, maybe that would be something that the residents drive by going in and in town and going, oh my goodness, look at that dirty industrial zone and it's, ruining the trees. Or maybe some people drive by and they don't care and they don't notice. I included a little bit more, some of these bigger rocks here to make it feel like a bit more of a harsh area, right, which is something you'd have around an industrial zone. And then, as you can see, as the pollution starts to go away, you get more uh, full, lush trees. I also just put fewer trees in this area, if you can tell, because you can only assume that over time, many of them would have just died from the pollution, right? Um, so that was kind of my thinking there. And here I just sort of made this, I've sort of fenced this off from the neighborhood and from the roads and the freeway. Oop, sort of missing a fence there, huh? Might be able to do that again. But I fenced it off here, you can see. And that was just sort of to, it's not like people couldn't still access it. They could easily hop these fences or I'm sure there's 100 different ways to get in here, right? But the idea is to sort of have like this, a buffer from the highway roads and the houses, and also just sort of an area where it's like this is sort of preserved nature in the middle of the city, right? It doesn't need to be a park. You don't need to make use of every single uh, little square space of land. You can have some open space even in the middle of your city that doesn't have any use whatsoever. It's just sort of there. And so we may find different things to do here later. Maybe a railroad can come through here at some point, or some other kind of public transit system. I don't know yet. Um, but I think for now that works. Um, and I think, if you were driving down the street, that would just look fantastic. If you're leaving the city. And this really gives you the feeling that, oh, okay, I'm on the way out of the city now, right? And then you merge on over to the highway, whichever way you want to go. So anyway, yeah, that's really all I kind of wanted to cover today, is just to show you sort of what I've been doing, playing around with mods, and sort of what I've been able to accomplish doing that, and sort of show you that, in my mind anyway, this whole town has a feeling of its own, and all the districts in different areas have a different character. I've even set policies, different policies for different districts. You might notice that I'm not sitting on a lot of cash right now, right? And even my income seems to be fluctuating a lot. And I think the biggest reason, I probably would be making 4,000 or 5,000 credits a week, right? But I have on power usage and a smoke detector for the entire city, which is using up a lot of money. So what's interesting is that by turning these on, um, I've actually found that I haven't had to do hardly anything with my fire department, and I haven't had to use as many power buildings to generate electricity. And I've found there's actually a point to making the buildings upgrade, and to putting more money into education and to putting more money into the parks. It's so that they can upgrade and then pay me more taxes, right, when they upgrade. And so I've actually had several points where I started losing money, and then I said, oh, I need to get my buildings to upgrade. And so that sort of makes use of that system as well, which I think is kind of cool. Um, I put recreational use because that's what I would do in real life, I think, if I was a real life mayor. And then in each of the districts, you can see I've set a few specific policies. So our sustainable housing district, I have recycling on, and that's the only unique one I've got there. Let me see what else. Thornton Hills is our like real downtown district, so I put a smoking ban there, right? So it's not that you can't smoke at any of the businesses in town, right? But in this area, in this sort of main place, you can't smoke there. It's going to be a clean area, right? So I have the businesses there recycling, and then I've also put on free Wi-Fi just in that area, um, right? I think that's pretty legit. That's kind of where I'm expecting if a tourist were to come, that's where they would come to. Um, and then over here, I don't think I got anything super special on. Again, recycling. And let's just check Foggy Square because I think I put something special on here. I put a pet ban here because who who in their right minds would be bringing their pets to their work in a polluted industrial zone, right? Hopefully not. So I just figured I'd go ahead and put that policy on, and that also means that this area generates a little bit less garbage. Um, Actually, I think even in Chestnut District, I said no pets. And that's just sort of flowing again with the idea that this is a little bit more, it's a little bit more of the middle of town kind of neighborhood, right? So landlords probably aren't going to they're not going to be as open to you having pets there. So I just went ahead and just put a ban on those places as well, and it helps sort of keep those people less happy, so the housing won't upgrade as quickly. And then I can make sure that these upgrade, and you know what I mean? Like you kind of get the rationale behind that, right? Um, anyway, I just wanted to show you this off to you guys and uh, share my excitement about it. And I would also love to hear what you guys think of the city and if you have any suggestions for where I should go next, and if you even like this video at all, do you prefer that I just kind of stick to stuff that we build together, or do you like to kind of see these side projects um, that I work on? And because maybe every few weeks or so I can sort of do a video like this updating you guys on the modded city that I'm working on, and then later on, and then but we keep up with our vanilla series with Fossil Felda every week. um, I don't know, that might be something that would be fun to try. So let me know what you guys think, if you guys like this or not, and hit subscribe if you did enjoy it, and like if you want to help me out. um, so I will see you guys soon. Thanks for joining me. Bye bye.